All right, John, now to this. Police pulled over a car just blocks from LaGuardia Airport, and inside they found an arsenal of weapons, a police vest, and a transit vest. So why is all of this not getting more significant coverage? Here with brand new details on the ongoing investigation, retired NYPD inspector and Fox News contributor Paul Mauro. If we could put the picture back up of the weapons that were found. I mean, you can't overstate this. This is an incredible amount of weaponry found in a car with a police vest. I mean, a lot of harm could be done. What do we know about this?
So it's very early in the investigation, okay? And I would say the immediate takeaway with this is that proactive policing works. This is a very good example of broken windows policing because from all appearances, this was not an ongoing investigation. They pulled him over for an obscure taillight, and you had 2 alert cops who alerted to what he had going on in the car, and now it's all of this. But we should be careful. Just because he's reportedly Muslim convert and at the same time had all of this disturbing stuff in his car does not get us to a counterterrorism case. Okay. We may get there, but we don't right now, according to the charges, have a terrorism intent. And so they're going to be doing interviews. They're going to be dumping his phones. They're going to be looking at his social media presence. They're going to be talking to what family he has. Reportedly, he has a child in common with another woman. They'll be interviewing her. And they're going to be trying to put together whether or not all of this occurred in the arena of terrorism, and if he had contact with anybody overseas or something like that. Short of that, you may end up at the end of the day with just a weapons case and somebody who's leading a slipping down life, and maybe he's got some personal demons.
Well, if it's just a weapons case, it is a weird one. I mean, he's got the Guy Fawkes mask there, which is used as a symbol of resistance against an oppressive state. He's got handguns there. He's got large capacity feeder magazines for the handguns. He also has a baton that's been affixed with a blade to turn it into some sort of hatchet. And on that baton was inscribed the words, "You left me no choice. I am sorry. You're going to learn today." And in Arabic, "God forgive me." That would all, Paul, seem to be pretty troubling.
It's definitely troubling. And that's why I say that the investigation is going to be very fulsome here. The NYPD Intelligence Bureau is almost certainly scraping this, excuse me, very hard. And they're going to be delving into his life because, yeah, while it is a weapons case, it's certainly not a normal weapons case. And the fact that he had the vest, the NYPD insignia, seems to indicate that he might have wanted to sort of penetrate an area. Now, look, I don't see any indicia here that he was doing anything relative to LaGuardia. I find that to be a little bit of a leap at this point. I could be wrong. Something could develop. But this is not the kind of weaponry or planning that's going to be involved in doing something relative to taking down an airplane or something like that. No. So the fact that he was in northern Queens near LaGuardia, okay, that's where they got him. But we are early in this case, and I would stress that. And, you know, you're going to have to see if he talks. I don't know what statements. Apparently, he didn't say much when they picked him up. It's definitely troubling, but you're going to look at his social media is going to be a big deal here because you want to see if he was indeed radicalized by somebody else.
It always is. Social media tells us a lot in these investigations. Hopefully this one does as well. Meanwhile, I want to ask you about your city. Governor Hochul is considering a face mask ban now here in New York City on the subways, citing anti-Semitic acts. I mean, you can make the case that these masks are being used to carry out crimes. We're seeing this over and over again. But do you agree with this, and is it needed?
I think it is at this point. I think something has to be done. Look, let's frame it this way and try to advance the story. I think we're well past the point that these are anti-Israel protests. We're into 2.0 with this thing, and it's pretty blatant anti-Semitism. When you're marking the doors of Jewish people in Brooklyn with the insignia for the Al-Qassam Brigades, which is the military arm of Hamas, you're sending a very strong signal. And that, to me, is really getting into very heavy hate crime areas. And I'm wondering, where are the cases? Because I don't see any cases being made in this arena. You have funding going on. These are the same groups that occupied the campuses, that did hundreds of thousands of dollars in damage, that have been attacking and intimidating Jewish students. And I just don't see the cases coming out. Where is DOJ on the funding? And the local police? Where is Tish James, for instance, the AG here in New York, right? She brought that big financial case against Donald Trump. Where is a commensurate financial case against the groups that are funding this? And we all know who those groups are. We've talked about them on the air. Where is the DA's office that put all that blood and treasure into going after Donald Trump for that bogus case? Where is he doing the investigations, running sources, pulling stuff off online to try to figure out who are the people that marked this? Remember something. Hamas and Hezbollah are designated entities under the State Department and Treasury. That's commensurate with ISIS. If you were waving an ISIS flag outside a Jewish demonstration, as they did the other day at a Jewish event, if you were waving an ISIS flag and you were writing ISIS insignia on the house of Jewish people in Brooklyn, this entire country would be screaming for those investigations, and we're not hearing that.
Yeah. You know, you must have been channeling Carol Markowitz in the New York Post, because here's what she wrote in an opinion piece. Protesters are harassing Jews every day in New York City. When will Pauls protect them? Jews are getting the message that no one will protect them, and they're largely not allowed to protect themselves. It's not turning on each other to demand more than words. Hate has no home in New York? Question mark. Prove it. So there's a lot of people who think that the New York politicians, New York leaders need to do a whole lot more than they're doing right now.
They don't want the optic. You know, it's an election year. We all know that. That's one of the reasons why I think these cases are not being looked at more heavily federally. Obviously, it's no secret that the Biden administration is concerned about the vote in Michigan. But here in New York, those things can be done. But, you know, look, you have a very, I'm not going to mince words, you have a very radical city council, and they will name check some of this stuff, but I'm not seeing the activity. I want to see the guys who were on that train the other day on the New York subway saying, if you're a Zionist, wave your hand. Do you think that they make the distinction between somebody who's wearing a yarmulke, whether you're a Zionist or just Jewish? If you're a Jewish kid going to school, right, and you're on that subway car, you think that you're concerned about the distinction between being Jewish or being a Zionist, which is what they always default to among these groups, right? They say, oh, no, we're not anti-Semitic, we're just anti-Zionist. That doesn't really matter on the ground, and there should be cases, and I'm just not seeing it.
I mean, I'm just looking at the scene on this New York City subway, people coming and going to work, step on that train, you don't know what hit you, and they're masked, you know? They feel comfortable to carry out these crimes. Paul, great to have you. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.